Hello, hello, testing mic. Let me bring the mic a little closer if I can. Okay, hopefully that sounds okay. Let me switch this camera over. I feel like this setup's a lot closer than last time, but whatever. Nice, okay. Seems like we're good. Hello, Curry. Let's get started. So, hope everyone is doing all right. Welcome back to another stream. Hello, Rebel Star. How are you? As you can see here, I have a variety of pieces laid out in front of me because today we are going to be polishing our prime job and fixing and finding any holes that we found during the prime job. So part of the reason why we prime is because we want obviously to paint our figure, but another reason that primer is good is because it will notice all of the flaws that you missed during all of your sanding and your prep phase. So yeah, I don't know what else to say than that. When I see flaws, I'll point them out, but today we're mostly going to be looking at all the pieces, and then if we have time, I'm not really sure how long this will take. I guess it depends how bad the damage is. We will transition into the airbrush booth and apply the second coat of primer because as we're working on this, we're going to be sanding down pieces and some areas will need a little bit more primer. Let's see, I'm doing okay. Hope you are well. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying the last bit of my break because my school starts next Monday. So I got a full course load. I am not mentally ready. I've been avoiding looking at the syllabi in my school work, but it's gonna come whether I like it or not. Yeah, the last bit of freedom. We've been trying to wrap up some projects while we have this last remaining free time. So in terms of like what that will mean for our schedule, we'll have to see going forward. But you know, I'm gonna try at least to finish. We're gonna finish this kit together. We'll see like what times and whatever works out. I think it will depend. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So without any further ado, let's just get started. I actually already worked on this piece, so I was just kind of messing around with it a little bit before the stream. And you can see I found a hole here, which I filled in, and there's another hole here. It's kind of hard to see, but I filled it in. So this piece, as far as I'm concerned, is already done. I will be mostly polishing these pieces with a 1200 grit. This is just a flexible sandpaper that I have, and so you'll see me using this light blue one, this kind of teal 3M paper. That means it's the 1200 grit. I also have my darker blue one. I'm just putting this on a clip real quick. I have my darker blue one here. So this is an 800. So 800, 1200. But for the most part, we want to stay up in that upper grit level. So I'm just gonna pull pieces out and figure it out as we go along. So that's mostly the purpose of today. Usually I try to give these a good polish all over. If you're polishing with a 1200, it won't remove off the primer too quickly, but you really just want to gently go at it to try to remove any extra fuzzies that are left over. If your airbrush like spluttered and you end up with an area that has like more primer, so it's kind of like higher raised, you can sand that down. Yeah. So we're just smoothing out the paint job, or the primer job, to get it ready for that beautiful paint job that we will be putting on soon. Obviously, we don't want to be finding a lot of errors in this stage because that would mean that all of the past streams that we've done, we've been missing a lot. So, obviously, we don't want to be missing a lot. Oh yeah, I even missed a prime area here. Kind of on the foot, I got carried away. And there is a little scratch on her butt. But I'm not going to fill that in. Actually, I might be able to just buff it out. Oh, looks like it might have just been like a clip or something that hit it. Oh wait, never mind. Maybe I will see if I can buff it out. Let's see, I definitely need to do this. I never considered smoothing the primer. Yeah, this is an actually pretty valuable step that a lot of people miss, and I highly recommend it just because, you know, when we think about like the anime kits, you want them super smooth, and I was always confused how Japanese modelers got their figures so smooth. Yeah, especially because like we do apply these primer, and so I thought everybody was using, you know, clear primer and just spraying it on, but that's not actually the case at all. I actually asked Masked Modeler about this, and this is Masked Modeler is a pretty famous like painter in the Japanese realm, I guess, and for a while he accepted questions, and so I actually asked him, you know, how are you getting such a smooth paint job? Like what primer do you use? And he uses the same primer as the rest of us use. You know, it's just Mr. You know, color brand, Mr. Surfacer, 1500, you know, and all the other 1000s and such. But the difference, he said, is that you smooth your paint job, or you smooth your primer down with a high grit after. And that's what, you know, gives you such a smooth surface. And so that, something in that clicked to me, like for whatever reason. I always thought that you had to just like spray your primer and then that was it, but you can sand your primer down too, like nothing's stopping you. So just a small tip if, you know, you're a little frustrated if you're spraying too high PSI or too low and then you get some fuzzies, like you can definitely fix your prime job and it will look better too on the final bit. There's a couple kits I have that I've finished that, you know, I should have done that because there's hair pieces and little things where you can see the fuzzies in the photos that I took. And I always thought that's just how it was, but nope. I'm always scared of touching the primer once it's on. Yeah, that's a reasonable fear because I definitely had that as well. But now I just like apply it somewhat thinly and then, you know, sand it down and then go from there. So don't be afraid to sand your primer. You can always, you know, wash your primer off, clean it off, reapply it, etc. And all that good stuff. Alright, so I'm just taking looks at the model. This is important just because, you know, we're going to be priming it again. So I want to make sure that everything's good. There's actually a, you know, I don't know if I feel like messing around with that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna mess around with that. So what I'm talking about is here on this sculpt, you can see that her underwear line actually isn't carved in. So there's like a line there. That may have been because there was a seam line there. Maybe it just wasn't sculpted. I'd have to look at past footage. And normally I would recarve that, but I'm not really feeling it. I don't really care. We can mask, you know, it off still. So, and no one's gonna see it. Like I'm not gonna display her without the underwear. So I'm just gonna keep it like so. I think this piece is good, so let's put this one away. Okay, and we'll work on the frills next and her skirt. So this was the big concern that I had, this skirt, mostly because all that prep we did on it, I was really afraid it would be full of pinholes that I was gonna see during this prime job. But I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I don't really see any at all. There's a couple of spots like where the magnet was installed that it looks like there's a dent there. And so I'm gonna try to sand that, but I don't know if that will really, there might not be anything I can do there if it's the actual magnet kind of sticking out. So, and you also, when you're doing this type of sanding work, you want to buff upwards, and so you may have seen me sand down this with a 400. After that, I go right into the 800 to smooth it out, and then I finally end up with the 1200. So you still want to be polishing the prime job at the end, but you know, don't have to attack it with the 1200 the whole time. You can work your way up in grits. yeah, this looks pretty great. You know, there's still a couple of dots obviously where we can kind of see where we, well, maybe or maybe not. Yeah, a little bit. You can kind of see the dots where we had puttied, but that's because I applied a thin coat of primer. The second coat should cover this more or less, and then we will not be using clears on the dress, and so it won't really matter. It will all be covered up anyway by the opaque paint. Okay, a little bit here. Yeah, something there. I don't know what. I think I got it though. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of a paint splatter there, primer splatter, I guess. And I do anticipate sanding off a good bunch of this primer. So, you know, if bare resin shows through, that's okay. The important thing is just that your surface is smooth, because your second layer of primer that goes on, that's what we want to fully cover it. So if your layers aren't smoothed out, you're just gonna get primer kind of stacking on top of each other, each layer, and then it will look kind of like gunky in some spots, and then, you know, it'll look thick in some areas and thin in others, and so that's what we don't want. We just want a smooth, even surface all the way around. Do you smooth the second layer too? Usually what I do is I go through with my 1200 just very lightly and slightly buff out those areas, and that's pretty much good enough to get the whole thing smoothed out. This feels ultra smooth. When I like rub my hand against it or my finger, yeah, it feels super smooth. So doing this will also allow you to see if there's any areas that you scratched. So if you used heavy sandpaper, you may have scratched an area, or maybe your drill bit slipped. You know, those types of things all become apparent. Yeah, no worries, Rebel Star. Happy to share it. These are just some things that I have learned while I've been building. Whether or not they may or may not apply to you, guys, I don't know. But for me, this is just part of my typical process. Okay, I think this is good. So I actually have 4 magnets here, but they're pretty difficult to get off. So let me see if I can. There's one. I don't know where my giant magnet stack went, and so I just have these like small. I only have a couple left. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Blow it off. There we go. Set that up here, and let's work on this one next. So you can see some of the paint kind of like came off from that alligator clip. I try to keep my alligator clips kind of clean too, because when you're using magnets and stuff, if you have too much paint on your alligator clip, it's going to start to flake off, and then it like ends up on your kit, and you want to be sure that it's all gone, and it's just an extra step of messiness that I try to avoid. So I don't know really anybody that regularly cleans their alligator clips, but I try to after every couple of projects. And all you have to do if you're just airbrushing is just dip them in lacquer thinner, you know, we'll swirl them around a little bit and then wipe them off, and that will peel all that paint off right away. Paint stripper or anything like that will work too for those. It doesn't necessarily have to be the lacquer thinner. As long as it's powerful enough to melt lacquer, I guess. Melt it off. Okay, areas like these, where there's like all of this frills, this is where those fuzzies tend to accumulate. So I definitely want to be sure to try to get in the folds. And this is where flexible tape comes in really handy, because you can see it just kind of goes right in there and wipes out all those fuzzies. Same here. So this type of crevice, that's where you want to kind of focus and try to get out the fuzzies. Anything like a character's armpit or something where there's like a fold or a curve in the resin. That's where the fuzzies accumulate. Okay. And I kind of been looking at the sides here and I'm not seeing too many bubbles that popped up either. So that's a good thing too. It's starting to accumulate. It's like that prime stuff. There we go. Looking pretty good. Yeah, I don't really see anything that's glaringly obvious. Usually at this stage it's really obvious when the pinholes pop up. And there are a couple spots, like a couple of other pieces I saw that had that, so we will be dealing with that. Alright, let me try to get these magnets off. It's so tough when there's like two little ones stuck. Or maybe. No, that did not work. Magnet tension. Almost got it. There we go. Okay. That one and oh, dang it. Okay. Please don't. There we go. Okay. I have to like match the polarity there. There we go. Okay. So that's good. Slight technical difficulties aside. Okay, so let's do these little ones first, and then we're gonna move on to the dress, at least the front of the dress. This one did have a couple issues, I remember. Yeah, we'll see. But first these. So these are her little hair ties that go in her hair. And there is a little bit of a line here, seam line, from all of that puttying we did. There's also some slight sculpting detail I'm gonna carve out here. Because right now this putty is kind of obscuring it. Maybe. Let's see. Okay. And I'm actually going to take a paper for this, but I need an 800. I was running really low on my 800 papers. So I want something with a sharp crease, so. That's probably good enough. Obviously we want to try to preserve the sculpt as much as possible. It's just kind of hard because some of these bubbles fell in spaces where it kind of ruined the detail of the kit. So we kind of have to reshape it. That looks pretty good. We'll find out once we prime it again. Smooth here. And what I also like to do when I am working with these pieces is I have ones that I put in a pile to prime, and then ones that are like perfect, that didn't need any additional help and I don't need to reprime them. In this case so far, like every single piece we need to prime, but you can end up with pieces if you have a really good a well cast piece or you did a good prime job, etc., where you only need to prime it once and then slightly buff it down and it's good to go. So not every piece has to be, you know, primed twice or 3 times. Just kind of depends on the condition of your kit. This one I need to sand a bit more. Oops, there. But you can see as we prime it, or as we sand it, some of that putty that we did, the putty job, ends up showing through. That's fine. I'm gonna redo this piece and put it, maybe if I do it like that. That should be okay. This piece is pretty small, so. Okay. All right, let's do the front of the dress. Lightly rub it through. Okay, that re-sculpt job that we did worked really well. You can't even tell that this was broken. So remember I pointed that out specifically, that whole area was kind of chipped off. The putty that I applied, which was a Tamiya epoxy putty, was used for this piece. So Tamiya epoxy putty was used right here, as well as kind of some sides. It may have been on the other piece to make the kit fit better, and it worked great. So yeah, I'm really happy about it. I'm glad that it worked out. And this side smoothed out really nice too. Sometimes if you don't sand it out right, you end up with kind of a ridge. But you can see here, you know, it's still a little bit visible, but it's very flush. There's no line there. So that's what we want to see. That's a good re-sculpting job. Very nice. Yeah, I'm very happy about that. We don't really need to work too much on this side. This is not going to be visible at all, so I mostly want to focus on the front here. All our work on this kit was worth it, you guys. This is ending up very nice. I started creating the color reference sheet for this figure today, so we'll see how it goes. Still kind of looking at things. Okay. Okay, now the inside here, let's see. You know, I don't think I'm gonna mess around with any more of the tiny hole here. There's like one tiny hole, but it's not gonna be seen, so the important thing was that it was all mostly filled in. And that, since that one's not visible, we're good. Okay, so I think this piece is doing all right as well. Moving through these pretty nicely. Okay, let's put this here. And let's do the other side now. Past here, I don't know what any of these pieces look like. The ones that I had on the table there were what I had been, or what I briefly looked at, so. Okay, this one has a couple bits of primer that just kind of spluttered. Might have been the angle that we were painting at. There's also what looks like a tiny bit of epoxy putty that got stuck on here, and so primer will show all of that too. That happened during my resculpt job. Okay, one here. There's like a little hair or something that got stuck in here, so we're gonna sand that off. There's a scratch here. That I can't tell if that's a scratch in primer or scratch in resin. Scratches in primer you can usually sand down and they just go away. This one looks like a resin scratch. So let's see. Yeah, resin scratches you can also tell because the primer kind of stays in the scratch, and so you know it's gone once you can't see the primer anymore in that scratch. It's a very easy thing to get rid of though. But you don't want to over sand either, so you kind of gotta weigh it. Is it worth drilling it out and filling it in, or just sanding it down? Okay. Good. 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 Okay, I'm gonna take that out and sand in here. That looks good as well. Okay, a little bit of a bump or something in here. And something here. I just noticed this. Let's see. It's like a lump that I guess doesn't matter because it's on the inside as well, but either way I got it. Okay. So this piece definitely needs another prime job, but should still fit. Yep. So either way it will still fit. You can kind of adjust it a little. Okay, so that's good. Let's put this back in here. Okay, that piece is done. Let's put it here. Now we're gonna move on to her little bows. I was gonna say twin tails, but they're not. They're like her little hair pieces. Okay. Some roughness here, but that could be from the putty job. Yep, looks like it. For the most part, this one is really smooth too. Her hair's kind of simplified, so painting it will be pretty easy. We don't need to worry about individual hair strands or anything like that. Put that there. Where did her other one go? Oh, there we go. This piece is even better. Wow, a lot of these are only going to need a very brief swipe of the primer. And I definitely think we'll be able to get to it tonight. We're about halfway done at this point with the polishing job. Very nice. Very happy that all of my work ended up being okay. So here's the tiny bird, which will fit on her tiny head. was looking at the color scheme for this bird, and I think like a lot of these pieces are fairly straightforward. But this bird is like, it's got a lot going on. Should be fun to give it a little gradient. And it's a miracle I haven't broken the beak off yet. Usually I drop something this small many times and all the little things break off. Okay. I'm not going to mess too much with that bird because I don't want to sand down anything else. Okay, let's do her leg. So leg, I do recall having some issue when we looked at it. Yeah, so there's a scratch here. Not sure if visible. Oh wait, where'd it go? Oh. She's got these cute little stockings or like tights that she wears too, so I'm not sure if I want to go with gray or not. I assume, so I was actually looking at the bird that this figure was based off of, and Whoopie Pie did a really good job replicating the colors on their official art, as well as their little photo there, their little illustration. And so those gray tights are kind of like, you know, her having the bird legs, and this specific type of bird actually does have kind of like whitish gray legs. So the gray tights would be a cute and accurate choice for this. Thought there were a bunch of holes in here, but I guess not. This piece as well, smoothed out and filled in really well. There's just like a couple of dots that I see from the Bondo putty. Oh wait, is this it? See a scratch here. Also, the good thing about buffing out the primer is sometimes the buffing it out actually fills in the areas too, for whatever reason, and so then you have even less to do. I think that's mostly good on that piece as well. Okay. Let's do, okay, there's a complicated situation here. So my magnets have stuck together, so I'm gonna peel off the parts first, because if you don't do that then they kind of go flying when the magnets try to stick together. There we go. Okay, leave that for now. So I guess we'll work on these very, very small ones. I don't think there's really much we need to do at all here. These are the little like orange slices or something that come with this figure and go on her sleeves. Yeah, basically no work needed on those. Okay, let's do this. All the little hairs and stuff that get stuck, you know, this is also the time to sand them out. Get them ready to leave before we paint. Wow, very, very happy. This is really great. We've got 4 more pieces. Actually, a couple more. 4 big ones and then 3 small ones that I just noticed kind of sitting at the bottom of my table here. Okay. Whoa, 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 that was close. Okay, so my magnets are sticking close to each other. All right, we'll do this one real quick. So this is her little stand. a little bit of a something there. There we go. And a little scratch here. Should be good. Okay, that one's done too. Next up is her other sleeve. This one's one of the bigger ones. And finally I see a hole, so it's not so much a hole as it is a little dent. So we try to get all those little dents and imperfections out. At least I do. I'm gonna polish the whole piece before going back to that, because there, might be one or two more that show up. And what is this? There's also something weird here. Not sure if visible. Kind of, there we go. This is kind of where I'm pointing at. There's a very, very slight something going on there. I don't know what this is. Might be putty, might be primer. Let's get the 800 in there. See if that smooths it out. No. Okay. Oops, that's my airbrush. Had it on earlier today. Yeah, whatever. We'll be using it later too, so. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Okay. Continue the polish. I'm only seeing that one dent, or that one spot, so let's bring out the light curing putty and fix it real quick. I had a toothpick, but I don't know where it went, so. Again, we're not doing a lot of repairs here because you should have already, done most of them the first time before priming. Okay. So I'm only expecting to find, less than 10 holes per piece, I guess, would be a good situation. Let's hold this up to the light. Ideally you want like 5 or less, but sometimes when you're puttying, you may not fill in a hole all the way, and so you get like a tiny hole and it just kind of shows up. Top of her head has a couple spots like that, so we'll see. All right, this is good. Start with the 400. Try not to sand down the other area. There's a little crease right next to this hole that I drilled, so don't want to be ruining the sculpt. Okay. A little more. Very slowly kind of peel off a little bit of that. There we go. Oh, hey, how you doing, Black Fox? How are you? Thanks for stopping in. We are polishing our prime job. So last stream we spent most of the time, actually, yeah, majority of the time on this kit, giving it a nice coat of primer. And so now we are polishing it and filling in any other tiny imperfections that we missed and getting it ready for painting. So it's coming up very quick. I think after the second coat of primer we'll be pretty much ready to paint. Just gonna sand this a little more. Trying to be very careful here, but because of that it's taking forever. Where's my 800? There you go. Just get that folding one in there. There we go. That should be good. Okay. And smooth it out. Alright. So you can probably see it right there. Oh my gosh. I'm having some trouble with my eye on there, and so it's like really hard to see it. Hopefully you guys can see it. Hey, how you doing, Quiliana? We are hanging out and polishing our prime jobs, getting it ready for painting. Okay, I think that was the only other problem with that one, so we are good. Time to do the head now, or the hair, front hair. Okay, this one feels a little grainy, so I'm glad we're smoothing it down. And I did expect to see a couple of areas here to fill in, so we'll see. So far so good though. After this, once we're done with all of these, I'm gonna magnetize the head together and see if it looks okay. That's another benefit of magnet. You can just kind of pop it together. Take this out for now. There is one tiny hole there. I'm not sure if it's visible though, so I'm gonna wait until we magnetize it to see. If not, then I'll fill it in. I mean, if I do see it. Okay. Fuzzy accumulation tends to happen in between hair pieces, so make sure that you sand that out. Same with like in between areas like this. It's a prime area for the fuzzies to match up, because when you're spraying your airbrush, so I don't have anything in it. So when you're spraying your airbrush, usually you're priming like here in the front or like under it, but you're rarely like going here or here. And so most of the spray that happens, it like hits the top of the kit or the front here, and it kind of scatters inside the hair pieces. And so that's how the fuzzies accumulate. It's because it's not like binding directly. Hopefully that makes sense. Same with like in between the hair pieces here. It's just really easy for it to kind of get a texture. This kit though is pretty simple, so there's really not too much opportunity for that, but if you get something with a lot of really complex hair strands, that can happen. So okay, there's something here that is different. Let's sand that down. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know what that was. It's just like a bump in it. Maybe some extra primer or something. Okay. Yeah, pretty good though. Not really hair strand here. Oh, it's some slight texture there. Let's see. We had a lot of random holes to fill on this hair, so sometimes they kind of show up. I think that's mostly good. There's a little bit of fuzzies here, but that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna put this piece off to the side here because we'll return to that. And let's do this one now. I'm gonna leave these magnets on for now. Actually, I'll take them off because we're gonna be testing it. So I'll leave it here. Okay, this one also feels kind of rough, so that's why we want to smooth it. And I'm actually gonna switch my 1200 here. Don't need a big piece. No worries, Black Fox. Have a good one. Thank you for dropping by. Even if it was brief, your presence was welcomed. Okay, some primer buildup here. This one had all of those holes. Remember I showed it off over and over and over? Well, look now. Nothing. No holes whatsoever. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see any hint of a micro bubble. We want all of that smoothed out, and it is gone. So, perfection. Seems that the UV resin did the job here. Yep, very pleased with that. Okay, lots and lots and lots of opportunity for fuzzies here. Not gonna go too intensely into it, but we do want to make sure that some of the main ones are sanded out, mostly between these types of hairs. I don't know if there's actually a term for this. I just call them fuzzies, so. It's like resin or primer dust or something, you know, dust accumulation. Okay, underneath. Get rid of whatever that is. Looks like a very slight seam line that stayed here, so I'm gonna try to sand that out. It's kind of in a weird spot though. Let's see if I can get it. Trying to like figure out a way to attack it. This looks good. Hey, how you doing, Mittens? Hope you're having a nice day or night wherever you are. Maybe a 400. This is obviously so minor, you know, if you're just starting out, no one's expecting you to be able to find all of these tiny flaws and catch every tiny seam line, but these are just things that I've picked up, and to me they look pretty obvious, so I feel compelled to sand them. Curry's vibing, I'm vibing and sanding, and we're just all hanging out. It's a good time. Nice relaxing Thursday, and then Friday, and then the weekend, so always good stuff. Okay, I think that looks better now. Yeah, I don't see it anymore, so. There's also a hair here, and some fuzzies. Something here that looks like I don't know what, it's a hair, but I'm not sure if it's in my prime job or in the kit. Sanding it is not working. Okay, I do see a little bubble here. I'm gonna try to sand it out, but I might need to drill it out. I think I can get away with sanding it. It's pretty surface level. Oh, maybe not. Okay. It's so small, but could be a sign of an actual bubble. So I'm gonna drill it out anyway. Okay. But there's only one that I see so far, so that's good. And a little bit I need to sand here. There's some leftover putty on that one. Possibly resin. Now that I look at this a little closer, there's a couple more tiny holes. Let's get this one as well. Just one here. And that one is so minor, it's fine. There's a slight scratch here, and I'm gonna drill it out. The rest looks okay. So we'll fill in these three first and then take one more look. It's always good to check your piece under multiple angles and have good light, because I didn't even see those on the first pass through. And then when I tilted it a certain way, that's when I saw them. Something going on there. It's like a hair. And here should be the last one. Okay. Put a tiny bit more there. I was just concerned I didn't fill it in all the way. Get that hair out of here. Ah, where's my tweezers? Okay, let's get this putty dried. We'll only take a few spare moments. We're gonna need to mix a little bit more primer as well before we start the priming, because I am almost out. I don't even know where my little, oh, here it is. So we only have about like this much left, so we're gonna need to put more into my little jar. We can do all that without switching the setup though, so I'll do that before we get going on the priming. Remember, you're gonna do a 400 at first, and then buff your way up to whatever your final grit you want. This is 12, this is 8, so 800, and then 1200. And I'm gonna cut a little bit out of here. Okay, let's do this one now. Oops, something accumulated here. I don't know what this is, just popped up. Also, I do highly recommend that you wear a glove when you're handling your primer like this, or your kit that has primer on it. Because you don't want any of the oils from your hands to get onto the figure and after you put on the primer. that will affect how paint adheres to the kit. So try to keep it clean. Obviously there's like dust and stuff on it now, but as we polish it, you know, it's okay. It's just the oils react differently. Okay, that one's good. Okay, that looks filled in. I don't know if you guys can see the difference between kit and primer. Probably not, it's very subtle. But usually the at least the Tamiya primer is pretty bright white, and so even the whitest resin kits usually have like an off-white tint to them after you've been handling them for a while, and once you compare the two. Almost done. Just a little bit of extra here. Again, this is so minor that if you're just starting out, don't worry too much if you just see like a tiny dent or something. It's more important that you get the basics down. Okay. Sorry, there's like a hair here. I'm trying to get it out. Oh my god, it's still there. Okay. Alright, that should be okay now. Let's take a look. Oh god, I see another one. Might as well fill that one in too. It's in that same area too. Oh, this one is an actual hole though. So like giving it a brief poke and it just kind of popped, so it's just an actual bubble that we missed. Okay, we'll fill in this one, and that should be it, hopefully. That's what the kit building process is all about. It's prep, and then almost done, and then more prep, etc. Okay. It's true though. It's just how it is. 80% prep, 20%, not even 10% painting, maybe 80% prep, 15% painting, and 5% assembling. Although that can change, I guess, depending on how complex your paint job is and how good your kit is too. But it feels like I spend the most time prepping. Okay, there we go. That one, and then where's my polish? Okay, looks like we have switched songs, but I did not ask for this. I asked for stream beats, so give me 1 second. I don't even hear it. Certain shade of blue. What is this? Okay, we'll play this one because I know for sure that this guy's music now does not aggravate YouTube or Twitch or anything. So, and they're actually pretty nice beats. So, in the future, I may just like switch to have that bottom feature something else if it's all going to be stream beats from now on. Let's see, it makes sense. If your canvas is crappy, then anything you do on top of that just magnifies the problem. Yep, that's how it is. Yep, you get it. It is also, yeah, very excellent point to see these as a canvas. Because they really are. They can be anything that you want them to be. It's kind of why I like building figures so much. And I like practicing things and doing art techniques and stuff on these kits. But yeah, it's very important to prep your canvas. Make sure it's nice. Alright, I think that's good. I don't see any more for now. But that's why we put on the second coat of primer to kind of finish up and fill everything else in and see if there's any other issues. So we'll set that one aside. And so before we finish the head, let's do these really quick. And then that will be it for the polishing, and we will create a new batch of primer, and then I will need to switch over to my workspace. So actually I think we only did one side of these last time, so yeah, I don't see us doing the other side yet. So we'll switch them over. Oops. Okay. Let me set these aside, excuse me, for now, and we'll put them back up in a second. Put these away. All right, the head is the last piece. So this is, to me, the most important piece. We want to absolutely make sure that this is the smoothest as possible and that we do not see any issues or bubbles or anything with the face, because pieces with skin tone are going to undergo clear piece treatment, and so if there is absolutely any hint of showing putty underneath that, then it will show in the clear prime job, or in the clear paint job as well. So kind of why I stress to make sure everything's filled in and good. Unfortunately, this kit did have issues. There was like a piece of hair from the casting process that got stuck in her eye, so I drilled that out and filled it in. There was also a bubble right under her eyelid, so right under here. It was very glaringly obvious, and so I also drilled that out and puttied that in. But because of that, she has two like putty spots under her eye, or in her eye, etc. Mostly the one right here is where it bothers me, but I think with enough primer that will cover it up. Other than that, it's looking alright. There's only a few tiny micro holes left on the top of the head, but because we filled in so many of them and I can't really see them and it's going to be covered anyway, I'm not going to bother filling those in. Let's see, what is this? There is something here though. Looks like a hole that I puttied. Did not fill in all the way, but sanding it should work. Can't tell if this is lo-fi or sad music. Did say it was blue tunes, so it's me, my sad music, because I go back to school. I think that's pretty good though. I'll have to putty or prime this a little bit more than usual on that cheek, but overall it looks pretty smooth. So kit should still fit together with the prime job. You can see it's very nice and white. There's only a couple spots. Obviously we had to sand down again because we filled in those holes, but overall she's really smooth looking and she fits together well. So yeah, I think let's get these up and then we will make our primer. Let's see. And then we will switch. So put that here. Oh yeah, this was here. Yeah, she's looking really cute already. I'm looking forward to seeing how this kit comes out. I haven't even thought or considered any of the things that we'll have to do regarding masking. There are some areas we will have to mask, so we'll have to like mask off the sleeve here. Her front dress, there's going to be a couple areas here where we have to line it. Let's see. So we'll have to line it here. You can see there's a line for a different color, as well as those front kind of details. The frills here will also have to be masked off and painted separately, so we'll do all of that. and as well as stuff like her like skin and undies and all of that. So there's a handful of masking things that will have to happen, so we'll figure out the order later. Okay, this one, and let me take off my glove real quick because I'm gonna put these back on losing my words here. Also, where's my tape? Oh, there it is. Just hanging off the edge of my table. Okay. I lost my thought. I don't know where I was going. But whatever. Alright. So we're going to turn these pieces over this time so we can prime the other side, because I forgot to do that. So it was like this side and then this one. You can still see the putty holes here. Cutting it close, but I think if I turn this, it will be okay. Yeah, okay. So we'll leave those on there, and that's how we'll prime them. We'll just, you know, spray over it like so. Hello, Canon. Yeah, I actually learned that tip from a friend. She like randomly showed me or told me once, and I was like, you are so smart. Like, why didn't I ever think about doing that? And it works so well. The only hard part, you know, is that you have to turn the piece, you know, because there's one area where it doesn't hit. And so, other than that, it's fine. That's why you watch streams, my friend. Learn new techniques. Learn some tips. I'm here to show it. Alright. So I'm just cleaning this up a little bit. And then we're going to make some new primer. Make a new batch of primer, which I'm just gonna put inside of my used up vial named primer. This is I think it's 40 milliliter vial. It's a scientific vial, but I have a whole bunch of them. And so I use these to store and mix colors, although I'm running out, so. All right, well, you can chill and vibe here, and we will just be hanging out. Alright, so let me get my thinner ready. This is a fairly straightforward process. I'm just going to be dumping stuff into a vial before we get ready to spray. Okay, so I have one jar here. Well, let me zoom out a little if I can. This could be problematic. I'll move it in a little closer. So I have one vial here of lacquer thinner. I'm going to pour out another vial of lacquer thinner, but it's the Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. And so I don't mix or spray with each of these equally. I mix my own custom thing depending on what I need to do. So regular hardware store thinner, Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, and then I have my liquid surface primer from Tamiya. Also have a couple of vials here, or droppers. I'm just shaking the primer right now to agitate it. Okay, and so my mixture of primer is what I found works best for me in my climate and where I'm spraying and all the other things. And so this recipe may or may not work for you depending on where you're at. Spraying and airbrushing in general kind of depends on a lot of things. It depends on the PSI of your airbrush. It depends on the humidity of the room, all sorts of things. And so, you know, your mileage may vary. You may not need leveling thinner. You may need more leveling thinner, etc. But what I typically do these days is I do 2 droppers full, and this is a 0.5 milliliter dropper. So 1 milliliter of the hardware store thinner, and then 0.5 milliliters of the Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. And then I put in 0.5 milliliters of primer. And then I just kind of repeat the mixture. So I go 1, 2, 1, and then It doesn't have to be exact when you're spraying putting the primer in. One, and then another primer. Sometimes I add in another like random one, so I go one and then I start it over. One, and one, and just so on and so forth until the vial is filled up. I really prefer using these small droppers, so not anything that's like 3 milliliters or anything like that, because that's just way too much for the paint that I mix. It's a lot easier for me to work with 0.5 milliliters at a time. And that's it. It's very straightforward, very easy to mix. So we already have a full vial full, and you don't need too much. It lasts, you know, a good number of sprays. I just put the stuff back. So this is the leveling thinner, just put back in the bottle. Don't want to contaminate it, so leave it. And then we'll be using this lacquer thinner, so put that here, throw away this one. This one can go also on the side. All right, and so I think with that, we are pretty much ready to start priming again. So I will be putting a brief be right back sign as I get this station ready. I also have to completely change my camera angle and setup, so you guys won't see me do that, but I will be turning my mic off and getting it ready, and then we'll be in the spray booth very shortly. So be right back, guys, and I will talk to you very soon. Okay, can you hear me all right? Sounds like, or it looks like from my Streamlabs the mic is registering. I had to switch some stuff around. So that looks okay. Now I'm gonna see if my camera is still working. Okay, that is really zoomed in. Let me zoom out a little bit, but that's a good angle. You can see my tape and other miscellaneous supplies. Okay, that's smooth focused, so we're good. Let me test the angle here. Zoom in a little bit. Can't see my face, there's my hair. Okay, sounds good. Let's do a quick test. I think I can zoom in a little more. Yeah, that looks good, right? It's a little loud, I know, I'm right by my airbrush, but okay. I think that's as good as we're gonna get. I don't think I can move this any closer, because otherwise it's hitting my leg. So for now that we'll have to do. Alright, so we're gonna do everything we did again on Tuesday, but it should go much quicker this time because we've already applied our primer layer, and so there's no worry at all about, you know, needing to cover every single piece all over and over and over. I do need to open my window. I forgot to do that, so let me do that real quick. You might see my sweater. Okay. Alright, that's good. Let me grab my mask. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to be using our white primer that we just mixed up and going over every piece. And that should be it for tonight. So again, I'm going to be muting myself once I turn on my hood here, just because it gets really loud and I don't want you guys to have to hear lawnmower sounds. So let's see. Put this mask on and go for it. Alright, just taking one brief break here. Gonna fill up my primer a bit more. But we're almost done. We only have like 4 more pieces, and so just figured I would stop in and say that's all we have. So far so good. Not really noticing anything else of concern. I layered this primer layer on a little bit thicker than the past one just because I want to make sure it levels out and coats over everything. So we'll see how that ends up. There's also one spot on the hair I think I missed and didn't fill in, but I'll do that later, so we won't have to worry about drilling that out and filling it in. Alright, let's get the last 4, actually 5, I just saw the little base pieces done, and yeah, that should be it. can hear me? It looks like my audio is being weird. The desktop audio. Let me see if skipping a song helps. What's going on here? Maybe I'll restart Spotify. Sorry if there was like no music or if it kind of muted out. There we go. No? Wait. Or maybe it's just really quiet. Or I'll skip this song. You can hear it okay? I think I just turned it up. Okay. Oh shit. I don't remember what I had it at. Okay, it's like showing up weird on my Streamlabs, but if you guys can hear it, that's fine. Sorry for the brief intermission there. Alright, so everything's primed now, so that's great. I'm going to clean up my airbrush and then, I don't know, take a look at the pieces and kind of decide what to do from there, I guess. So we'll have some extra junk. I'm just gonna rip some paper towel here. Give it a nice deep cleaning since we're done with the primer, and we want to make sure that our airbrush is clean before the next use. It's always a pain to clean up like before you want to do something. It's easier for me at least to just do it like after I'm done with something. That way you've completed the thing, it's done, you're ready to keep going on your next project and you're not putting it off. So then, I don't know. I just feel like it starts out in a better mood if everything's already clean and ready to go. Like my mood gets soured if I have to like suddenly be cleaning or doing something before when I have a plan. So I'm gonna take apart, so I'm just taking apart my airbrush, you know, in a basic way. I'm not doing a total deconstruct, but I want to make sure to clean out the needle and everything else. Okay. Get that all nice and done. Hopefully that was a little bit instructional for you. I know that we already showed this on Tuesday, but it's always, you know, nice to go in and see how I airbrush and what coverage looks like and stuff. You may have seen me go over and like take a couple of the parts again. So like I picked up the top of the hair or the back of the head, or the back of the head and the face itself. And I sprayed over those again. That's just because I wanted another thicker layer of the primer. One of the benefits of the leveling primer is you can kind of just like spray it on, but it doesn't really show how it actually covers the kit until it dries out a little bit. And so the layer that I put on looked like it wasn't really covering anything. But if we take a look at the pieces after I finish assembling this, you'll see that most of the putty holes that we sprayed should be gone because that primer like has had a chance to dry out. The purpose of leveling thinner is it acts as kind of a retarder, and so it takes a little longer for it to dry compared to a regular thinner. And so that gives you a chance to really lay on a smooth coat, or if you have a really humid atmosphere, it allows it to have a chance for the moisture to escape from your spray, and that way you won't end up with a kind of misty white coat. That can happen. Okay. Alright, so airbrush is clean, that looks good. I'm going to throw away this eyedropper, and why not these as well. So let's take a quick look at the face. Looks pretty good. There's like just a couple of fuzzies I gotta sand off, but let's see. For the most part, you can see. Oh, where'd my, ow, gosh, sorry. I don't know where my just playing went, so let's see if I can focus this while I'm doing it. Okay, that's not gonna work. We're gonna just be living without the we're almost done anyway. So yeah, it looks pretty smooth. There's just a couple fuzzies here and there, but you can see, especially with this black backdrop, that it's really, really white. It's like glaringly white. And let's do the top real quick. So the top we had to sand down again because all of that putty. And now, no such thing. There's no more holes again. So you can see as it kind of rotates in the light, that discoloration is mostly gone. There's a very slight hint of it, but it's nothing that will affect it. And yeah, it looks pretty good. So I probably won't need to go over that too much more. And I'll show one piece off, the last one, which was this one. I coated this one quite thick. Yeah, there's still a little bit of work I have to do on this one. You can kind of see right here, that discoloration is from the magnet. Not sure how much more I can do there, but when we apply an opaque layer of paint, that should cover it up. So really it's just so glaringly obvious now because we're working on a pure white canvas here. So it looks pretty nice. Should be nice and smooth. Let me put this back. And I think that's pretty much it. Again, we want to wait a little bit for these layers to dry and kind of cure out. They're dry to the touch, so I can technically rub my kind of finger on them now. But it's always good to wait a little while between putting on your primer and then spraying your paint, because that will fully give your primer a chance to cure out and adhere to the kit. We really want a strong surface. Sometimes I get impatient and I just put on my primer and then I put on my lacquer paint right after. I haven't noticed too much of a difference, but I do feel like it's a little bit weaker adhesion, kind of scratches off easier. So just keep that in mind if you're kind of in a rush. You want to try to set aside some time to let that paint cure and everything cure. I don't really have too much more this time because looking forward, like I am gonna buff out this hopefully this weekend. I don't know, things are gonna get crazy starting next week, but we do need to start thinking about colors, and so the next thing that we will be doing is spraying some spoons and testing colors on them. I do think, so heads up, I don't think I'm going to stream next week just because I'm going back to school. I want to kind of see how the schedule goes. I have classes every single day this semester except for Friday, and so that is different than my schedule that I had last semester. So technically I think we could still swing the Tuesdays and Thursdays because my classes don't run that late, but I want to see how this first week goes, and then after that see how tired I am, and then we'll judge after that. So expect at least a week delay. The next returning stream we'll be starting color on this kit, and so I feel like this is a good transition point to kind of stop and take a quick break. That way I have a chance to fully make sure that I'm comfortable and ready to continue these streams, because I enjoy doing this, but my school also really matters to me. So hopefully you guys understand. I'll be sure to announce it on Twitter for sure, Instagram probably if I remember. So just keep an eye out and we'll go from there. So I think, we'll end this a little bit early just because there's nothing else for me to do, and to pull out another kit and work on it for 15 minutes doesn't make much sense. So hope you guys all have a good rest of your night. Thank you, Rebel Star. I appreciate it. I hope I do too. Thanks so much, guys. I will be sure to talk to you all soon. If not through Twitch, then through Twitter, etc. Have a good night. Bye-bye.